Welcome to the Workplace Wellbeing Essential Series. I'm Mari Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Advancing Wellness. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to this expert interview where we explore topics that impact employee well-being. Today, my guest is Colleen Reilly. Colleen is the Vice President of Wellbeing Services at Thrive Pass, a leading provider of a comprehensive platform for managing employee benefits. Previously, Colleen was the president and founder of Total Wellbeing, a leading provider of performance-based corporate wellness services. Colleen's experience also includes time spent at the world-renowned Mayo Clinic and Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. Colleen was instrumental in earning Coors their 2002 Gold Well Workplace Award, recognizing them as one of the healthiest workplaces in the United States. Colleen holds a Bachelor of Science in Science from Santa Clara University and an MBA and Master of Science Management with an emphasis in sports and wellness management from the University of Denver. When Colleen is not busy working, consulting, speaking, she can be found outdoors, skiing in the winter, biking or running in the summer, and playing with her family. Colleen, I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Mari. It's wonderful to be here.
Fabulous. Well, today we're going to explore an interesting topic about well-being from the perspective that well-being is not a strategy, it is a responsibility. Now, that's a bold statement. So today, as we explore the employer's role with regard to this and how it impacts employee well-being, I just want to mention in his book, Everybody Matters, Barry Waymiller CEO Bob Chapman talks about the idea that every person who comes to work each day is someone's precious child. And he says they recognized they would have greater inspirational impact on people than any other organization if they were good stewards of their lives, and that our deepest sense of right and responsibility was awakened by those simple, profound insights. So Colleen, let's talk a little bit about this idea of why well-being is now a responsibility and not just a strategy.
Yes, thank you, Mari. I'd actually like to go back in time a little bit. The health and well-being industry has been around for decades, almost nearly 50 years, if you go to the very first employers that were focused on that. And we actually have had remarkably successful endeavors over the last half century, spreading workplace wellness into a worldwide movement, international, as really an antidote to individuals and organizations living life at suboptimal levels due to less than healthy lifestyles, environments, cultures, climates at the workplace, in families, and even within communities. But I still think, although there are some organizations that have had success, many organizations don't truly understand the multi-dimensions to create a culture where people thrive.
Right.
And I have realized that what we've accomplished in the past is not going to be adequate in the next century or even in the next decade, because wellness, just as a program, is not viable. It really, truly does require becoming part of the entire employee experience. And if you think about, well, what does that mean? What is the employee experience? It's really, it encapsulates everything that an employee observes, they encounter, they feel over the course of their time with that employer. It's their journey. I love the way Accenture defines the employee experience as culture, as climate or environment, and technology. And companies that have great employee experience actually outperform Standard & Poor's 500 index by 122%. So to truly integrate well-being into the employee experience, It's no longer a strategy. It becomes a responsibility of the current and future generation of leaders.
Absolutely love it. And, I totally agree with you, because this is exactly how, in working with some of my clients, they're starting to look at this, the relationship between what is employee experience, what is well-being, how do these things all come together? So can you unpack this a little bit more and talk a little bit more about, what this means and what it looks like?
Yeah. So if I was to go back in time when we were hunters and gatherers, leadership was distributed between men and women equally. There's not a lot of hierarchy. Everybody was all hands on deck just to survive, right? If you wanted to eat and you wanted to survive, you were either hunting or gathering. Then we transitioned to farming, and there was a little bit more fixed roles. And then religion started to show up, and we got organized, and religions really started to guide and shape our society. But things, continued to move, and we started mass production, the appearance of nations, the growth of commerce, and really governments then became to guide and shape our society. But who's really shaping our society now? It's business and corporations. And who is leading the businesses and organizations that are shaping our society? It's leaders. And these leaders really are guardians and shapers of our society and humanity. And that is so critical to understand, because for the most part, we're really unprepared for this. We're really, kind of driven to deliver profit, return on investment, shareholder value, investor value. But the one key component that's really missing, and I know you and I have talked about it, it's this lack of human connection, this true caring and nurturing of the human being and their well-being. I'm sure some of the viewers have read Dying for a Paycheck. And according to the research in the book, 61% of employees have said workplace stress has made them sick. 7% have actually even been hospitalized due to this. Job stress is costing employers more than $300 billion annually, 120,000 excess deaths per year. So we are literally dying for a paycheck, and this has to stop. So business leaders, all of us, it is time for us to rethink longer term and focus not just on profits, but equally purpose, passion, and people. And then ultimately and absolutely the profits will come. And if you ever have read Firms of Endearment, and even the latest second edition of Firms of Endearment, you'll see that those types of companies are outperforming S&P 500 as well.
Well, I think you are so right about this. And what I love is that there are more and more opportunities for us to have the evidence, that those organizations that are really taking this people-centric, caring for their people approach are now outperforming those organizations that are taking a more traditional approach. This is the whole work of the conscious capitalism movement.
Yeah.
And so it's exciting to see that so much of this is really starting. And I say starting because I still think that this is not the norm. Would you agree with that?
100%. 100%. It's kind of like what we just talked about at the very beginning. We've come a long way in the last 50 years of getting health promotion and wellness and well-being, and then it did become a strategy, and now we're kind of on the precipice of really continuing to push the needle forward, but we still have some laggards that really don't understand, like I said earlier, the multi-dimensions, to really make this difference, and they still think it's burpees and broccoli. So we've got a lot of, but the biggest thing that we have to do, in my opinion, is we have to move beyond implementers to influencers, to multipliers, to get this change socialized, because we are social creatures and we influence each other.
Absolutely. I'm curious from your perspective, Colleen, How do employers intentionally create a workplace where people can bring their best selves to work?
Yeah, I love that question. And I would really say the first thing that an employer, as they embark on this journey, they have to know their why. Why are they doing this? Why? And start there. And a lot of times when I'm working with clients, what I hear is their why is recruitment and retention. Maybe, healthcare costs and accessibility. A big one, how do you truly inspire people to bring their best self to work? And if I was to really kind of, take each one of those, I would say the first one, recruitment and retention is hugely important. And it is what is affecting and keeping HR up at night right now. People are struggling to keep that top talent. And according to the U.S. Labor Department, the number of Americans that are quitting their jobs is highest that it has ever been in a decade. 3.1 million people voluntarily left their jobs in January of 2017. The other really critical thing is filling that open position is really expensive. It's like $4,000 to $5,000. It can take around 52 days to get the position filled. And then you've got the ramping up and onboarding that can take, 6 to 9 months. It shows that an average $60,000 job costs $45,000 to fill at the end of the day with all those costs sunk in. And it's costing companies across the country $160 billion a year. I mean, we've got to invest in our people and inspire them to bring their best selves to work so we can keep them. So a couple of things of, well, how do you do that? I would say I would just go to one of the latest studies that Gallup, or articles that Gallup wrote about a more humanistic workplace, and a really nice way to start stepping into that is addressing vulnerability and being authentic and being real and really embodying those values, because there are meaningful moments when people become vulnerable, and that can make or break your culture. So maybe an organization doesn't know where to start. Storytelling is huge. And it's a great way to just connect with people so they feel seen, they feel heard, they feel valued. Because really a culture of belonging is what brings out the best in people. And as I, kind of am diving into this with a lot of organizations, and just even yesterday at the American Heart Association, we talked about, what does human connection mean to you? And empathy came up, vulnerability came up, being, again, seen, heard, valued, recognized. Gallup's done some study on, okay, well, with vulnerability, there are 4 meaningful moments within a workplace that really make a difference. When you propose a new idea, when you ask for help, when you push back on something, or even when you ask for a personal favor. Because in these meaningful moments, which happen, as we know, how other people receive the employee's vulnerability is critical. So as a leader, if you really can understand and meet them where they are, they ask for a favor and you grant it, oh my gosh, that allows that employee to feel like they've been heard. And that positive response can build a really positive culture. Now, on the other hand, if it's received very negatively, like, why would you ever ask that, you idiot? It has the other ramifications. And again, because we're social by nature, this type of behavior multiplies. So can we use that social contagion to become influencers of creating that kind of environment?
Great ideas and suggestions on how to create that environment where people really do want to bring selves to work. And I love that you started with the idea of why, goes to the tying to purpose, you know, how that links into means clearly some of the elements that you've talked about here, purpose and connection, those are core elements of well-being at its very core. So great suggestions there. If our audience wants to learn a little bit more about you and the work that you are doing, Colleen, where can they find you?
A couple of places. LinkedIn is the easiest. So Colleen Reilly on LinkedIn. Also, I do some articles on Forbes around these types of topics, and with a lot of high level strategic to get it started, but always boiling down of what are some tactics that we can implement right away, or how do we make the business case to our leaders to get them to understand this is what we need to do as companies start to and continue to shape our society. And lastly, always my email, which is very simple, RileyMColleen@gmail.com.
Got it. All right. Thanks so much. This was a great conversation. Love your ideas. And, as always, it's wonderful spending time with you, Colleen.
Thank you so much, Mari. I'm so grateful for our friendship and partnership and being in this industry and making change together. Thank you.
That's great. Thanks.